Welcome to VLearn's online session of MCS 012. In this session we will do the assembly language programming. The topics to be covered under this are simple assembly programs, programming for arithmetic operations, and programming with loops and comparisons. Now, assembly language programming introduction. First of all, syntax of 8086 and 8088 assembly language. We all know assembly is a low level language. So first of all, we will discuss about the features of assembly language. This language is not a case sensitive. There may be only one statement per line. A statement may start in any column. A statement is either an instruction which the assembler translates into machine code, or it can be the assembler directive which instructs the assembler to perform some specific task. Now, if we want to discuss about the syntax of a statement. Now, a statement of assembly language consists of the name, then mnemonic, then operands on which the mnemonic code works, and the comment followed by the semicolon. The curly brackets indicates those items that are not present and are optional in some statements. Name field is used for the instruction labels, procedure names, segment names, macro names, names of variables, and names of constants. MESM, that is macro assembler 6.1, accepts identifier name up to 247 characters long, and all the characters are significant, whereas in MESM 5.1 names are significant to 31 characters only. Names may consist of letters, digits, and the following 6 special characters, that is question mark, full stop, @ underscore, dollar, and percentage. If we use the dot symbol or full stop, it must be the first character. Name must not begins with a digit. Then instruction mnemonics, directive mnemonics, register names, operator names, and other words are reserved words. That is, they cannot be used for any other purpose. Next is comment. Comment is basically used to make the program more readable. In assembly, the semicolon is used to start a comment. A comment may follow a statement, or it may be on a separate line. Multi-line comments can be written by using the comment directive. You can see the directive comment, then delimiter, whichever you want to use to specify the comment. It can be star, question mark, any other delimiter. Then write the comment and write the delimiter. For example, we write comment, then star, then the comment is this program finds the maximum elements in the byte array, and at the end there must be a delimiter sign. Now, there are various types of data that we can use, that is number, character, strings. Numbers can be binary numbers, decimal numbers, or hexadecimal number. Binary numbers is suffixed by B or capital B. You can see this binary number which is suffixed by B. B denotes a binary number. Decimal number is suffixed by the optional D, capital D or small d. You can see in this example. An hexadecimal number must begin with a decimal digit, and it's suffixed by capital H or small h. But the beginning should be with a decimal digit. Next is character. Character is enclosed in the pair of single quotes or in pair of double quotes. And then string. String is an array of character. It is enclosed in the pair of single quotes or in pair of double quotes. You can see enter your name, the maximum value is, these all are strings. For a string delimited by single quote, a pair of consecutive single quotes stands for a single quote. Now, before using any variable, we must define it. The data definition examples are, as we already discussed in the previous session, DB for define byte, DW for define word. Give the name of the identifier, then delimiter, and then value. You can see various delimiters. A question mark is placed is a place of an initializer indicates you do not require the assembler to initialize the variable. The assembler allocate the space but does not write in it. Use question mark for the buffer areas or variables a program will initialize at the runtime. Then prompt db enter your name and dollar to terminate this string. Next is DUP operator that can be used to generate multiple bytes of words. That is, table is an array and 100 is a size of array and which contains 100 different values of with 0. If the variable name is missing in the data definition statement, then memory is allocated but no name is associated with that particular memory. For example, if it does not give variable name, then in the data definition, then the memory is allocated but no name is associated with this particular memory. Now, next is simple assembly programs of sequential control flow. That is, first the programs of data transfer. There are various mnemonic codes available, that is move, exchange and all. For assigning values and for assignment of values, move is used. Move is a mnemonic code. For example, move ax comma 42. 42 is initialized. 42 is moved to ax and 45 is moved to bx. That is, we assign these particular values with the help of move. The syntax of move is move destination then source. Destination means a register or memory location and source means a constant or another register or memory location. You can see the program in a simple program. First of all, we have to define the memory model that we already explained in the session. That is, memory model can be small, tiny, large, any model. Then the stack segment used to define the size of the stack and the code segment. Code segment, we have to define the code segment name that we define here. Start is the name of the code segment and to end it we use end then the name of the code segment, that is start and end start. We can take any name for the code segment. Then in this we assign a particular character, that is A to DL. Now to print this particular data we use AH comma 2H, that is to print 8-bit data that is stored in DL register. The data you want to print must be saved in the DL register. Then in 21H to halt, then again move AH comma 4CH function, that is these both of these functions are used with 21H. That is, first of all we assign 2H to AH, then we use in 21H to print this 8-bit data. Similarly, we assign 4CH to AH and we used in 21H. In AH comma 4CH is used to return to the DOS. Next is, if we want to take input from the user, then again we have to define the memory model. Again we have to define the stack size and we have to start the code segment. We define the name of the code segment and we end the code segment with end then code segment. Now AH08H, this function is used to input one character from the user. Then we input the character in AH, that is by default the value is inputted to the AH register. So from the AH register or from the AL register we have to move this value to DL register to print this. So to print this value we move the value of AL to DL. Then to print this value we use a move AH comma 2H function, and to return to DOS we use move AH comma 4CH function. Next is XCHG command. It is used to exchange the values of two variables or two different registers. Similarly, we define the memory model, stack segment and code segment. Then move AH comma 08H and in 21H used to take input from the user. Then move BL AL to transfer the value of AL to BL. Now we take input from the user in the form of character, and if we take 2 or if we take any number that is from 0 to 9, 0 to 9 numbers are internally represented by 30 to 39, as in case as we already do in case of ASCII codes, that in ASCII values of alphabets are from A to Z are from 65 to 90. Similarly in assembly, the numbers, if we take character from the user and if we take character in the number in the form of character, for example 1, 2, 3, but if we take it in the form of character and we want to treat it as a number, then these are internally presented as from 0 to 9 are represented from 30 to 39. So if we enter any number such as 2, then 2 is transferred to BL, then 2 is represented as 32, and to convert it into 2 we subtract 30 from this number, that is we subtract 0 because 0 is equivalent to 30. Similarly we accept another number, then we move it in CL register and again we subtract 0, that is 30 from this number to convert it into a number. Now we use exchange BLCL to exchange the value of both these two registers, and then one by one we will move the value of these registers to DL register and we print this value of particular DL register by using AH0 2H with int21H function. In assembly the numbers are represented from 30 to 39, that is from 0 to 9. It's about control unit. In control unit we will discuss about the basic concept about the control unit, the types of control unit, that is hardwired control and Wilkes control, microprogrammed control unit and the micro instructions. Now first of all, control unit. As we all knows that the CPU has two major functional units, that is CU and ALU. ALU is used to perform the arithmetic and logical operations, whereas the CU, that is control unit, is used to supervise the other units or to generate the control signals according to which the other units can perform. So the two basic components of CPU are control unit and ALU. The control unit of CPU selects and interprets the program instructions and then sees that they are executed. The basic responsibilities of control unit are to control the data exchange of CPU with the memory or input-output modules, or next one is the internal operations in the CPU are controlled by the control unit, that is to move data between registers, making the ALU to perform a particular operations on data and regulating the other internal operations. Now, what are the functional requirements of a control unit? A control unit must know about the basic component of the CPU and the micro operations that the CPU performs. The CPU of the computer consists of the basic functional components, that is ALU, registers which are ALU to perform the arithmetic and logical operations, registers to store the information within the CPU, internal data path, data used for moving the data between two registers or between a register and ALU, external data path that are basically used to link the CPU registers with the memory or input-output modules, and the control unit that causes all the operations to happen in the CPU. Now the micro operations performed by the ALU can be classified as micro operations for the data transfer. Data transfer can be from register to register, register to memory, input output to register, etc. And the micro operations for performing the arithmetic, logical and shift operations, and these micro operation involves use of registers for the input and output operations. So the control unit must perform two basic functions, that is cause the execution of the micro operation and enables the CPU to execute a proper sequence of micro operations which is determined by the instructions to be executed. Now, if we talk about the structure of control unit, then the control unit has a set of input values on the basis of which it produces the output control signal, which in turn is used to perform the micro operations. This is the control unit or the general model of control unit, in which inputs are clock signal, which causes micro operations to be performed in a square in a single clock cycle. Either a single or a set of simultaneous micro operations can be performed. Next is flags are basically used by the control unit for determining the status of the CPU and the outcomes of the previous ALU operations. Next is control unit from the control bus. Some of the control signals are provided to the control unit through the control bus. These signals are issued from the outside of the CPU. These are the inputs. And last input is from instruction register. It contains the operation code, or we can also say the opcode and addressing mode bits of the instruction, which helps in determining the various cycles to be performed and hence determine the related micro operations which needed to be performed. And on the basis of these inputs, it will generate the control signals within the CPU and control signals to the control bus. Now, the prime requirement of the control unit is that it must knows how all the instruction will be executed. It should know about the nature of the result and the indication of possible errors. And all this is achieved with the help of flags, opcode, clock and some control signal itself. A control unit contains a clock portion that provides the clock pulses. The clock signal is basically used for measuring the timings of the micro operations, and the timing signals from the control unit are kept sufficiently long to accommodate the proportional delays of the signals within the CPU along various data paths. The events of any instruction cycle can be described as a sequence of such micro operations. That is fetch cycle, which is basically used to fetch the instruction or causes the n instruction to be fetched from the memory. That is next is indirect cycle. Once the instruction is fetched, the next step is to fetch the operand, and the operands are fetched in indirect cycle. And next one is to execute cycle. Fetch and indirect cycle involves a small and fixed sequence of micro operation, and each of these cycles a fixed sequence of micro operation that are common to all instructions. So final cycle is execute cycle to perform the different micro operations. An interrupt cycle, if any interrupt occurs, then how to handle the interrupt or how to give services to that interrupt. And next one is instruction cycle. The instruction cycle for the given machine can contain various cycles that can be fetch, indirect, execute and interrupt cycle. Now, this is all about the control unit. Now next is the types of control units. The control systems can be of two types, that is hardwired control system and micro-programmed control signals systems. First of all, hardwired control. In hardwired organization, the control unit is designed as a combinational circuit, and that is the control unit is implemented by the gates, flip-flops, decoders and other digital circuits. Hardwired control units can be optimized for the fast operations. It is a special digital circuit that uses the bits from the flags, signals from the bus, bits from the opcode field in our instructions and signals from the clock. If we talk about the advantages is speed. And the drawback of hardwired is the instruction set and control logics are directly tied together using a complicated circuits that are difficult to design and modify. Next is microprogram control unit. It is developed by M.V. Wilkes in the early 1950s. He proposed an idea that was organized and systematic and avoided the complication of hardwired implementation. In Wilkes microprogram control, basic concepts are: it uses sequence of instructions to control the complex operations called microprogramming or firmware. Microprogram is an interpreter written in the microcode that is stored in the firmware, that is ROM, PROM, EEPROM, etc., which is often called control store, and the program converts zeros and one into the control signals. The Wilkes micro instructions has two major components, that is control field, which indicate the control lines which are to be activated, and the address field, which provide the address of the next micro instruction to be executed. So we can say microprogram control unit is an alternative to hardwired control unit, in which the logic of control unit is specified by microprogram. A microprogram is also called firmware. It consists of one or more micro operations to be executed and information about the micro instructions to be executed next. Micro instructions are stored in the control memory, or you can say control store, and the address register for the control memory contains the address of the next instruction to be read. You can see the functioning of microprogram control unit, in which instruction register, decoder, sequential logic and control buffer register and control address register is there, which uses the control memory or control word for read and write operation, in which the sequence logic unit specify the address of the control memory word that is to be read in the address register of the control memory. It also issues the read signal. The desired control memory word is read into the control memory buffer register, that is control buffer register. The content of control memory buffer register is decoded to create control signal, and next address information for the sequencing logic unit, and the sequencing logic unit finds the address of the next control word on the basis of the next address information from the decoder and the ALU flags. Now there are various advantages of microprogram control, that is, the only thing that needs to be modified is the microcode. No hardware modification is needed in microprogram control unit. Microprogramming is flexible and easy to design. It allows for convenient hardware and software trade-offs, and if something you want is not implemented in the hardware, it can be implemented in the software easily. But there are various disadvantages of microprogram control units also. All the instruction must go through an additional level of interpretation, which results in slowing down the program execution, and the development is very expensive due to the software tools. Now after discussing about the hardwired and microprogram control unit, the next topic is the micro instructions. Micro instruction is an instruction of a microprogram which specifies one or more micro operations which can be executed simultaneously. On executing a micro instruction, a set of control signals are generated, which in turn cause the desired micro operation to happen. Now there are various types of micro instructions. Micro instructions can be categorized into two general types, that is branching and non-branching. After execution of a non-branching micro instruction, the next micro instruction is the one following the current micro instruction. Branching can be conditional branching or non-conditional branching. Now next one is control memory organization. One of the simplest ways to organize control memory is to arrange micro instructions for various subcycles of the machine instruction in the memory. Examples: the pseudocode of microprogram for this instruction can be test 0, flag if set, branch to label 0, unconditional branch to label non-zero. This is an example of control memory organization in which a machine instruction branch on 0 is used. This instruction causes a branch to a specified main memory address in case the result of the last ALU operation is 0, that is the 0 flag is set. Next is micro instruction formats. The two widely used formats for micro instructions are horizontal and vertical. In the horizontal micro instruction, each bit of micro instruction represents a control signal which directly control a single bus line or sometime a gate in the machine. In the vertical micro instruction, many similar control signals can be encoded into a few micro instruction bits. Now, the execution of microprogram. The micro instruction cycle can consist of two basic cycles, that is fetch cycle and execute cycle. In fetch cycle, the address of micro instruction is generated and this micro instruction is put in a register used for the address of a micro instruction for execution. The execution of micro instructions simply means the generation of control signals, and these control signals may drive the CPU or the system bus. One of the key features incorporated with micro instruction is encoding of micro instructions, and since we are dealing with binary control signals, therefore an n-bit micro instruction can represent 2 raised to power n-bit combinations of control signals. Now, some of the 2 raised to power n combinations are not used because of various reasons, that is, two sources can be connected by respective control signals to a single destination. A register cannot act as a source and a destination at the same time. We can provide only one pattern of control signal at a time to ALU and making some of the combinations redundant, and we can provide only one pattern of control signals at a time to the external control bus also. Next is the execution of microprogram. In execution of microprogram, the instructions can be unencoded micro instructions, highly encoded micro instructions. Unencoded micro instructions are 1 bit is needed for each control signal, therefore the number of bits required in micro instruction is high. It represents a detailed hardware view as control signals need can be determined, and since each of the control signals can be controlled individually, so these micro instructions are difficult to program. Almost no control logic is needed to decode the instruction, as there is 1-to-1 mapping of control signals to a bit of micro instruction. The unencoded micro instructions aims at optimizing the performance of a machine. Next is highly encoded micro instructions. The encoded bits needed in the micro instructions are small. It provides an aggregated view, that is higher view of CPU, as only an encoded sequence can be used for the microprogramming. The complex control logic is needed as decoding is must, and the highly encoded micro instructions are aimed at optimizing the programming effort. The design of an encoded micro instruction format can be stated in simple terms, that is, Organize the format into independent fields, that is each field depict a set of actions, that actions from different field can occur simultaneously, and defines each field such that alternative actions can be specified by the fields that are mutually exclusive. That's all for this session, that is control unit and organization of control unit and types of control unit.